There are 16 basic human desires that guide nearly all human behavior. And by becoming familiar with all these human desires, you can learn about what is actually really important to your customers and how you can position your brand to help them get what they really want. This idea of the 16 human desires was created by Stephen Rice, an Ohio State University professor, after conducting a study with over 6,000 people. Now, something very similar to the 16 human desires are this thing called advertising appeals. And to be honest, they're kind of the same thing. But the reason why I chose the 16 human desires is because I think that actually zooms in a lot more on psychology, as opposed to an advertising appeal, which is definitely through the lens of advertisers. But I encourage you to learn about both so that you can apply as much knowledge as possible to your advertising campaigns. And I know what you're thinking. Okay, human desires and psychology, I want to make money. And if that's the case, this actually might be the most important lesson in the entire course. Because brands that have succeeded in the last 5 years using Facebook ads as their primary growth lever have understood these core fundamentals. True Classic was able to scale to $250 million in under 5 years using these exact strategies. And they have a pretty basic product. And then there's Cuts, which is a nearly identical brand. They were able to lean into several of these strategies to become a 9-figure brand on their way to $1 billion valuation. So if you think you're in a crowded market, so here's what I'm going to go over in this lesson and how you can apply it to your paid social campaigns. Number 1, I'm going to do an overview on all 16 human desires. And 2, I'm going to go over which ones are the most important in the buying process and show you a ton of ad examples for each one. But before we dive in, I want to make this one disclaimer. Not every single person tends to encompass all 16 human desires at any given time. It's a spectrum. Some humans are going to react more to certain desires over others, which means that you as the advertiser or the founder, you shouldn't be split testing all 16 human desires for your brand. That's why it's really important to view all these through the lens of your customer and really just ask the question, what is most important to my customer? What do they really care about? What truly motivates them? Forget about your product or brand. What at their core human level, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? You gotta peel back the onion layers here, and that's what we're gonna do now. So let's dive in. And we're gonna go through these alphabetically. Number 1 is acceptance, which is the need to be appreciated and to be truly accepted for who you are. And as it relates to ad creative, how can you position your messaging to make someone feel truly accepted or like they're a part of something bigger than just themselves? Number 2, the need to gain knowledge. Humans are by nature curious creatures, and some of us are on a quest to really get as much knowledge as possible. And since you're taking this course, you're probably actually driven by that core human desire to get more knowledge. And number 3 is kind of a funny one, which is just eating or the need for food. And it might seem like an odd one because yeah, we all need to eat, but I like to view this as like the Anthony Bourdain of desires. He had a great drive to experience culture through food, to try anything once, and to make connections over meals and drinks. That feeling and that emotion that he was chasing, that's a core human desire. Number 4 is family, the need to take care of and provide for one's family. And this is a big one, a huge one that's being used in advertising. And this is something that we see organically a lot, right? People love to talk about their children, their family, and how they're huge motivators for what they do in business, health, and wealth. Number 5 is honor. So some people are really driven acutely by this key human desire, and I think I see it most commonly with certain religious groups. Number 6 is idealism, or the need for justice, to essentially right many of the world's wrongs. And for those of you that have family members who are lawyers or work in law, this human desire is clearly for them. Number 7 is independence, or the need to be unique as well as self-sufficient. So we not only want to be a part of something greater, but we also want to stand on our own 2 feet and ultimately provide for ourselves. Number 8 is order, which is the need for prepared and stable and conventional environments. I personally laughed at this one when I first saw it because it essentially means that you crave things to be clean and orderly. And my parents used to call me the human tornado when I was a kid. So as you can see, this is something that not everyone is going to be drawn to uniquely. Ironically, in my older years, I tend to do a lot of Marie Kondoing around my own house. So, things change. Number 9 is physical activity, or the need to work out your body. So if you've ever wondered why gym rats were a thing, or why certain people really gravitated to the type of lifestyle where fitness is a huge part of that, then this human desire is why. Number 10 is power, which is essentially the need to control ourselves, our situations, and our outcome. It's not necessarily about controlling others. And in many ways too, power equals money. So again, the ability to really provide for ourselves. Number 11, I think, is the most self-explanatory one, which is romance. So the need for sex and the need for love and the need for deep romantic companionship. Number 12 is saving, which is the need to accumulate something. I like looking at this as the drive to have a legacy, essentially something to pass on. Number 13 is social contact, or the need to have relationship with others. So these are essentially your friendship, your colleagues, and your peers. We all need a community that we feel like we're a part of. And number 14, kind of similar, is social status, which is more of an ego-driven one. But this is the need for social significance. So essentially, we want to be seen as someone of social significance and class. It's interesting. I grew up in the Midwestern United States, where I don't think that this key human desire was something that I experienced a lot of, because I lived in pretty much a farming village. But living in New York City, I see a lot of people being driven by societal significance in their own personal lives, which is kind of interesting. Number 15 is tranquility, or the need to be secure and protected. I also like to look at this one as being able to feel calm and without anxiety. 16 was my personal favorite, just because I was just so surprised for it, which is vengeance, or the need to strike back at another person. My God. But like I said, this one was highly entertaining for me. But if you've ever posted a video on Twitter that got any kind of traction, the Twitter comments are ruthless. And yeah, I do tend to clap back there. So now let's zoom in on the ones that are most important in advertising, specifically on Facebook ads. And I do have a 4-play board for each one of these so that you can look over them in your own time. And the first one is acceptance. So essentially, you want to be able to make your users feel less alone. I actually think this UGC ad did a really good job at it, because it's actually looking at that need for acceptance in a negative connotation. So this person was saying, oh, I actually felt really embarrassed when people were looking at my feet. So they were agitating that human desire to make them feel a little ashamed and like they weren't super accepted, and then position their product and service as something that's going to help alleviate that. I also particularly love this example from ISSA, where this influencer explains that, hey, I normally don't actually look like the typical influencer fitness person, but this program made me feel supported and like I belonged. The second one that's most important is family. And essentially, you want to be able to show your customers that they're going to ultimately become better providers as a result of your product or service. I have tons of great examples here, but I actually really love the campaign that Cuts did for Father's Day in 2023. They had a whole bunch of different ads, right? They had one, help him help himself, the Vacation Dad Fit, which is definitely geared more towards women buying stuff for their man. But they also did a Founder Story Father's Day ad, which showed people, hey, not only am I the founder of this amazing brand, but I'm also the son, and here's like my personal relationship with my father. The Golf Dad Kit is also really cool. It doesn't say much with the words, but it says a lot just with the visuals. Like, hey, you're gonna be the ultimate cool golf dad if you buy this. Number 3, physical activity. And essentially, you want to show that your product is going to help people attain peak performance. There are tons and tons of ad examples here. Really take your pick. The idea here is, hey, you're gonna be able to do more physically with this product. Number 4 is power. And essentially what you want to be telling your customers is how your product is going to be able to put them in a better position of power so that they can reach their goals in their lives. I really like this one. Become the most intelligent woman in the room. I also like this Obvi one that's about being able to take control over your weight, which is something that sometimes people don't feel like they have control over. And I think the Dr. Squatch ad is really interesting. Oh, this soap is gonna make you smell like money. It's gonna make you feel more powerful. It's gonna make you feel like you have more of a social significance in this world. So you see, a lot of times these ad creatives or these angles can encompass a few of these human desires, which I think in turn makes it quite a bit stronger. Number 5, romance. I honestly think this is the most common one. And now that you're becoming more familiar with brands that are doing this, like Cuts and like True Classic, you're just gonna see it all the time and be able to spot it a mile away. But essentially, you're gonna need to show people how your product is making people feel more attractive to their spouses, to their partners, or how they're able to attract the type of people that they want to attract. This is a big attraction one, but also how can they deepen their relationships with their partner. And number 6, like I said, is pretty similar to acceptance, but essentially how can your product bring about greater friendships? I actually think this Pura Vida ad is an excellent way to visualize this. And number 7, social status. So essentially, how can your product make someone more successful? Not only in business, but also in life. My favorite example for this one is this Cuts ad, because it says, hey, our clothing is being worn by people who work at Google, by people who work at Slack. And the idea here is that, okay, if you wear the same clothes as people who are in these perceived positions of power, then you are also going to be more like them. And tranquility. How can you bring people more peace? I actually think this Coterie baby one is really, really interesting because they could have definitely taken more of a family angle, right? But the messaging point that I actually saw that was strung through a lot of their ads was actually about how they themselves got more sleep, not necessarily their babies getting more sleep. So how they were able to experience more comfort in their life, not necessarily their family, but for them, which I thought was really cool. And I think anytime that you can explain, this is how this product is going to make you feel more secure, more calm, more confident, less anxious, that could be a really big positive. Now, it goes without saying that not all ads lean into one of these 16 human desires. I like to look at this as like the first step into human psychology. Like, you understand the formats of the ad creatives that you can make, and you understand the several different hooks that you can make as well. So how do you turn it up a notch and add a little bit of human psychology here? And this is how. And now that you're aware of them, you're gonna start to see them everywhere in advertising. And something else that I would suggest is take a look at your top performing ad creatives and see if you've done any of these unintentionally or intentionally. And see what human desires are starting to rise to the top. And also take a look at your competitors and see, okay, which human desires are they leaning into for their customers? Is there something that you can learn there? My tip for understanding which human desires are most important to your customers is to really think about what is most important to them. Forget about your product, forget about the problem that your product is a solution of, but really think about, okay, what are the most important things to them and how can we help them achieve that? Also, for the romance and the social ones, I really like to think about what types of compliments my users would really like from those people. And my final suggestion is to consider testing your hooks, your scripts, and your angles with these 16 desires in mind. All right, I'll see you in the next lesson.